And I have three boys, 6-year-olds, Jason, Jaden, and Joel, and they are in the Mastermind Junior. It has been an amazing journey for them and for me as well as a parent. One of the things it has taught them is to be accountable. They always send in their daily reports. It has taught them to be accountable to a system and also in their handwriting. The daily writing has improved their writing. It has also taught them financial skills, so they understand needs and they also understand wants. So it makes it easier for me as a parent because whenever they want to purchase something, we have to have that discussion if it's actually a need or a want. So it makes it easier instead of them showing tantrums. Lastly, it has also taught me as a parent to be patient with them and to enable them harness their skills and their talents. So I encourage parents to register their children for the Mastermind for accountability, for enhancement of their skills and their children's talents. Thank you.
Hello, parents, boys and girls. Welcome to the third edition of the Mastermind Children Conference, tagged the Young and Empowered Children Conference 25, with the theme, Building a Solid Foundation for the Future. Yes, this is our third edition and we are so excited to present to you an opportunity for parents to gather on a round table to discuss pertinent issues on how we can support our children to be the best version of themselves. Yes, it is also a platform where we give children an opportunity to use their voice, to share their experiences, and of course, impact their peers and a generation with what it is that they carry within. It also allows other children get inspired by these children who have dared to try. So, boys and girls, dear parents, have you registered for this conference already? If you have and you are sitting, then congratulations. It is about to go down. So, my name is Maribel Chima and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and the proud maker of the Children's Mastermind Circle. And do you know, I am your favorite children's coach. Welcome to the 2025 Young and Empowered Children Conference. Let's go get transformed. Alrighty, good evening everyone and welcome to the Parents Roundtable session of the Young and Empowered Children's Conference 2025. Sorry. So this is our second roundtable session. We had one yesterday and it was such an amazing session with two educators. Okay, we're supposed to have two. We're meant to be three of us in the studio, but one of our participants had network issues for the longest. But yes, we are here today for another roundtable session, and this time we are going to be looking at mapping a future for the challenged child. Right, I was saying at the end of the last session with the children, right, hoping if there was any parents there, I was saying a lot of times as parents, when we hear there's a session or there's a conversation around children who have challenges, a lot of times we remove ourselves because all we're thinking is, oh, okay, it has to be someone who has a child that is suffering from one developmental. We don't even think of it that way. We think of it like it has to be someone with a child with, a serious case of, disability or something like that, right? And I know, one of our guests today would always say that somehow, almost every one of us is on some sort of a spectrum somewhere when it comes to, whether development or whatever it is. Anyway, I have the experts in the house today, and they are going to be talking to us about this. There's a lot to learn from this session today, I promise you. So if you're here and your friend, your cousin, your neighbor isn't here, please, this is the time to pause and send them an invite or Send them a message to remind them that we need to be here. I know we just got off the last session, and this session was supposed to begin like almost 20 minutes ago at 7 exactly. We apologize for the delay. So we are going to go right into the session now. Admin, please let's read the bio of our speakers, please. Thank you very much.
Antonia Ode is a mom and interior designer who creates sensory-friendly spaces for children with developmental delays such as autism. She designs functional rooms that promote calmness, safety, and happiness using elements like color, texture, and lighting. Her goal is to make spaces inclusive and comfortable for all, especially children with special needs. Please welcome to the Young and Empowered Children Conference 2025, Mrs. Antonia Ode.
Welcome, Mrs. Tonia. It's good to have you here. So let's have the bio of our next speaker. Thank you.
Dr. Omolola Okio is a medical doctor and global autism expert. She founded Autism Renewed to coach parents on supporting children with developmental challenges. Dr. Omolola specializes in language development, nutrition, and behavioral management, advocating for joyful learning and parental empowerment. She partners with educators to develop industrialized education plans and coaches individuals to unlock their potential. Dr. Omolola also teaches tech skills and is a prolific author and sought-after speaker, aiming to live a life of fulfillment and help others do the same. Welcome to the Young and Empowered Children's Conference, Dr. Omolola Okio.
Alrighty, we have Dr. Omolola Okio with us. Good evening, good morning, Dr. Omolola. I know it's like 1 a.m. at your end, and you are right here with us doing what you know how to do best, empowering and giving people an opportunity to be more. Thank you so much, ma'am. We're excited to have you. And yes, Mrs. Ode, thank you so much. Mrs. Ode has so much inside of her, so much parts. You listen to her and you're like, okay, So I am super excited to have these two women that I respect so much in the studio today. And I am going to be your moderator in this session. All right, so we are going to go right into the session. And before we do, I'm going to give everyone a minute to invite someone that needs to be here. Do you have that parent who probably has a child that is having one delay or the other and doesn't exactly know what to do? That person that you've been seeing around and you're wondering, is everything okay? Just say to her, there's a session I need you to join right now. Send them the link immediately. Do you have that friend that you love very much, right? And you want them to know as much as you know or as much as you're learning right now? Please send them a message right away. All right, we're giving you 1 minute to do that. Okay, less than a minute, about 30 seconds to do that while we wait for you. Okay, so before then, while we're waiting for you, we're just going to land on the ground and get to it. All right, Dr. Omolola, welcome. Miss Tonia, welcome.
Okay.
Mrs. Ode, welcome. So I'm going to ask my first question, and my first question is going to be for Mrs. Ode. We're going to be looking at common problems, all right, that there are misconceptions about, right? Of course, in our environments, when it comes to children and all of that. So the question is, what are the most common misconceptions about children with challenges that you have encountered as a parent who talks in communities where you have parents, who wonder about their children? As a parent who talks in communities of parents, women in church and everywhere, what are the common misconceptions, ma'am?
So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me once more. Um, so, here we are here to talk about mapping the future of the challenged child. And when we talk about that topic, basically, we're just saying how we plan to reshape systems and environments to ensure that every child, regardless of their ability, can thrive. Most of the common misconceptions or challenges we have is even before the misconception. I think what happens is when a lot of people are in denial. That's the first thing that happens that you get to see. A lot of people are in denial. They can't accept it based on personal beliefs, their fears, their concerns. So that's the number one challenge people have. And then a lot of times people feel that once these children are seen in quotes as underprivileged or challenged, nothing can really be done. But as we commonly say, inability is not disability. And what we get for children that are challenged, or I would like to always say, children with additional needs, is that most of the time, all their view to life is just different from others. Hence why we call them neurodivergent, because their view to life and their outlook to life, they just reason and think differently. They are not lesser than your typical children, or as the world likes to term them. So that's the main thing. Most people just feel there's more to it. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. There's a noise in the background. I don't know. Can you hear something rustling somewhere in the background? I can hear from my end. Can you hear it? If you cannot hear it, then it's probably me. Okay, Tony, can you hear it?
How does it sound?
Like someone is fixing something and is scratching and that.
I can't.
Okay.
I
Okay, then
can't
it's
hear.
not a problem. Then maybe I should
It's clear
use
from
some
my.
tabs I have here. It's probably coming from one. You can't, or you can hear.
No,
I can't hear.
it's very clear from my end.
Okay, don't worry. Okay, okay, then it's me. So let's ignore it then. Dr. Mola, please, can you throw a bit of light on that? What misconception you think, that is very common, apart from the fact that people are in denial and all that?
Thank you, Coach Marybeth, once again for the privilege and platform. I don't take it for granted. Another perspective I also like to bring on when it comes to misconceptions is that I know we always have different extremes, the extremes of the denial. But I also think that another misconception I feel is that people tend to think that, okay, that's how God made these children. Just accept them the way they are and we don't do anything about it. So I also think that's another extreme because I feel that sometimes I don't feel that the challenges necessarily define the children. And sometimes what we even call as a challenge can just sometimes children can even overcome some of those challenges that you are attaching to them. So I feel that we also have a misconception of like, okay, that's how God created this child. Except sometimes the extreme of the acceptance movement is always accept them the way they are. When you're trying to use interventions to help them to become better, some people believe they are changing who they are. And I feel that that's another extreme because I've seen children come out. I've even seen children overcome certain challenges that can make them even lose a diagnosis. So, and I've seen some of them grow up to say that I'm grateful for this effort and interventions that pushed me to be better. So I also think another misconception is that we have a because truly it can be very challenging. And of course, because there's no one size fits all. some interventions may work for some children and may not even work for another child. But I think that it's worth trying and giving every child a chance. So I feel another misconception is the acceptance movement of that's how God created them. They can never do something. So, and I believe that you can never say never. No matter what science says, nobody is God, and science is progressive. So the misconception that a child will never do something, I I, I think it's very wrong because children can surprise you. One minute the child is unable to do something at all. The next minute you're surprised that what you've been trying to get the child to do, the child can surmount it. So I feel that's another perspective to the misconception that those limitations define the child and the child can will never do certain things. Thank you. People were saying,
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I'm looking at the comments in the audience. I think the audience are actually hearing this noise that I am hearing too. Yeah,
ah,
something it's a noise that is wavy. Yeah, like network issue. Maybe whether it's net okay, it's less now. Okay, I can't hear it right now. Okay. So let's
you
imagine.
there now? You're not
Let's
saying.
imagine that. Okay, it looks like okay. Looks like it's gone. Okay, it looks like it's gone and all that. All right then. Thank you very much, Dr. Molola, for that. Okay, so in this conversation, we want to come as close to the average African parent as much as possible, right? So we want to come as close as possible in in the solutions that we're thinking of, in the suggestions that we are giving and all of that. So for a typical parent who doesn't know a lot, or doesn't know anything about, children that could have challenges, what should they, I mean, at what point should they get worried, or at what point should they start thinking that there may be a need for intervention, right? Just so that we stop living in this whole denial, or just living in total ignorance anyway. So, Dr. Mola, let me throw that to you. For someone who works with parents directly, someone who is in the medical field, at what point should an average parent begin to think perhaps there's a problem here that I need to look at? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I was even in a session with someone yesterday and I was talking about this. The first thing is that parents need knowledge and parents need to be aware of, let me say, what the normal looks like. Well, let me rephrase that. normal can Normal is not necessarily linear. Let me say that. Let me balance
What
that. Okay,
typical looks
because
like.
sometimes, yeah. So there's nothing like this is what one size fits all. However, they are, maybe let me say, expected milestones. Because most of the time when we're talking about challenges, what are the measures? What are the things we are looking at? So most times we look at what we call the developmental milestones. So what are developmental milestones? These are milestones that everyone is expected to achieve. So we have like the language, communication, cognitive, um, emotional, behavioral, social skills, and we also have like the motor skills. Motor skills are the gross motor ability to walk and run, depending on the age, then fine motor ability to write and things like that. So those are just like yardstick or markers that we can use to measure how someone is going or progressing. Although medically we say, okay, by so age you should be able to do this, by so age you should be able to do that. However, like I said, it's not linear, it's just a yardstick. So if we're looking for tangibility to help parents, we can take that as a kind of like sample of, okay, at this age, at that age, a child should be able to do certain things. Let's even assume you don't even know anything. That's why your appointments, when you're pregnant, you're expected to register with a professional. When you have your baby, if there are complications during the delivery, your professional will already tell you, okay, because this child had this challenge during this delivery, we're expecting that there may be challenges with the way they progress. So come for your appointment. So if I'm going to say, I mean, like we're talking to, okay, let's talk about to like, let me quote a layman or someone that you don't really know much. What are the things you should know? Look out for get knowledge. First of all, there's no excuse to say I'm not a medical person, so I don't know milestones. Because being a parent is a call to responsibility. So I tell parents, for example, you can't tell me that you have a baby or toddler, you don't know what fever looks like, you don't have a thermometer in your house. That's irresponsibility. So the same way, normal milestone, what's the expected? What age should the child sit down, have neck control, achieve simple all those milestones? You can this knowledge is available. They say it even during your antenatal in hospital. Most of my parents don't listen. So you go for your child wellness, you are rushing to get the immunization and run out. All the checks that they need to do to check the weight, to check the reflexes and all that. Most parents don't even they don't understand the importance of those things. So how do you begin to pick challenges? Because sometimes challenges vary. In the first 1 year, there may be visible challenges. So a child is not sitting down, a child is not walking. Those are visible. But there are some other challenges, especially when it's going on in the brain, that you may not know until the child gets to school, for example, now struggling with reading. So sometimes they don't even pick challenges on the child until the child gets to school. However, from my experience, when I begin to drill down and ask questions, sometimes even in the first year of life, there might be certain signals that were there. But because parents' priorities are not in the right place, we are more interested in your 1 year old starting school and learning how to do times table than understanding that that first 1, 2, 3 years, emotional regulation, creating the right environment is priority. So, what should a layman parent know? Know that milestones are important, get knowledge. And even in the first 1 year, if your child at birth struggles with latching on the breast, it's a red flag. Because remember, the brain controls everything. If your child doesn't crawl, for example, it's a red flag, even if the child ends up walking, because you may not see that deficit of that not crawling until 6 years. So, but when you have knowledge that all milestones are important, this concept of skipping classes or skipping, my child worked at 9 months and you're happy, it's not a good thing. Not necessarily a good thing. It may be the negative. So have that kind of knowledge. So when should you get concerned? When there are any issues in any milestones? But unfortunately, the system will tell you a parent complains, oh, my child is not doing at 6. Okay, go come back in when the child is 1. And of course, those are some of the deficits in the system. When should intervention begin? When you notice a deficit, even at 6 months. But what therapy or intervention will look like at 6 months is different from 2 years or 4 years. So, as a parent, when you notice any concern from birth, a child is struggling to latch on the breast, maybe it's a red flag. A child doesn't attain neck control in time, it's a red flag. Know what to expect, eye contact. So, knowing all the milestones, a child should be cooing, responding to you. So, when you notice any challenge, or you need knowledge to be able to even know what you're looking for. So, when you notice any missed milestone, or even your instinct, I would always say that trust your instinct. It's just that sometimes I'm sure we're all parents. Sometimes you look at your child, even when they're older, they look okay, but when they came back from school, you just know that something is different with the way they look. I don't know if you can relate to what I'm saying. Everything is fine, but just look at them and like, this child looks different. And by the next day, you see that the child starts showing symptoms of being ill. So trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Sometimes parents may not be able to say this is what it is, but they just feel that this child is not, especially when you have older children, this child, something is off. So talk to your professional. Then I would always say you can seek a second opinion, because sometimes a familiar professional may just say nothing is wrong, but if you are still concerned, your child is not meeting milestones, or you just have an instinct something is wrong. I'm not saying that because you're going to Google and reading on social media and you're just being afraid, but genuinely you're just concerned. Talk to your professional. So when should you think something is wrong? Know the milestones that you measure as a child progresses. Know what it should look like for different ages. Of course, children are different. Some children may attain milestones, but it's better when you feel something, talk to your professional and can seek a second opinion. That's when you begin to say something. Then, if anything is picked, listen and start intervention. You can do other things, you can believe, you can pray, or whatever, or other things. But the earlier you begin to get them to intervene or look into the matter, the better. So when should you do this? Get knowledge to know what normal milestones look like at different stages. And when you notice any change or something that is not just doesn't feel right, talk to your professional. I'm not saying talk to Google or ChatGPT or social media. Talk to professionals. You can get a second opinion if you are not convinced about it. Thank you.
All right, then I couldn't help hearing that talk to Google. In fact, that social media one, you just see the comments. My this is happening. What should I do? What do you think? Then you start seeing 100. As in, you're seeing 100 comments. In my head, I'm wondering. So which one is this person going to take now? Like, since you have come to come and to come and seek advice from social media. Thank you so much, Dr. Monola. Yes. So now there is that thing, right? So the moment we get to that stage and then we now find out, okay, there's probably a challenge here, or there is something here and all of that. Now, there is a tendency as a parent, Tonia, this is for you. There's a tendency as a parent that all you want to do or all you're thinking at that time is fixing, right? You found out, okay, now there is a challenge, and you see everything that you're thinking about is fixing. So, just like Dr. Mola said, do the needful, but even if you pray and all of that, do the needful, right? But what we find out is we just get from knowing or accepting straight to the we must fix it today. So you realize parents are jumping everywhere where there's a fixing. So Tonia, sorry, Miss Tonia, Mrs. Ode, right? How do we,
Tonia is
how
fine.
do parents
Tonia is
manage
fine.
pressure? Tonia is okay, right? So how do parents manage the pressure of fixing versus nurturing, all right? Versus nurturing the nature, the natural way, or nurturing the child when this is the situation, when you have at least come to the point where you now accept that there is something we're dealing with right now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'd like to say that one of the things that one of the qualities that we try to give children that are challenged is calm. There's a lot of stuff going on in them, so they need calm. So you can't give calm if you don't have calm. So we first encourage parents to stay calm themselves. It's not as easy. It's not as easy. So just even like Dr. Omolola said, those early years in a child's life, they should be used to teach emotional regulation. So you can't even teach what you don't have. So I always say, in the face of chaos, even before you act, you have to first be calm and think through the situation before you begin to make progress or take action. Most oftentimes we, just like she said, you don't go to Google. A lot of us do that, social media, Google and all. But at the end of the day, what that does is just information overload. And at the end of the day, you are left confused, you don't know what to do, or you end up taking the wrong decisions and running with it. What you're supposed to do is stay calm. After staying calm, you think the issues through, or whatever the challenge is through. And it doesn't mean you have to now dwell in it and wallow in self-pity. You've decided to take action. So what you need to do is first go and seek support. And the way to seek support is to go, you can go to the hospital. Most people, I always prefer they start from there, because then they can now refer you to see the special or the professionals in the field. There are so many professionals, and what each of them do, from your speech therapist to your pediatric therapist to your special needs teacher who is focused mainly on education and creating IEPs for you. You have your, depending on the degree or the challenge that the child has, you have those that will need physical therapists, you have those that need speech therapists, there are those that need behavioral therapists, there are those who need occupational therapists to help them to be able to navigate life. So you start from there and just be calm and trust that all will be well. Hello.
Yes, we're here. I can hear you. I think there's a network issue. Hear you
From
though. You can
them.
hear. Then go ahead, man.
Okay.
You can go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So that's it basically. I don't know
I
if
can
there's.
hear you. Yes, please.
I'm done.
All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so we're not going to start talking about, the environmental stigmas and all of that. We know how this, even for things, common things, not to talk of, when you have a child that is obviously challenged and all of that. So now I know parents have to deal with this you have to deal with these cultural challenges, and all of that, and all of that. While at this, are there things that parents can begin to do, right, using the resources around them? For parents who has found themselves here and is dealing with, okay, who do I go to? What will people say about me? What do people think about my child and all of that? What would you advise, Dr. Molola, right where you are? What are the things around you?
Okay.
What role does environment play? What can you use in your environment that can use to start supporting the child? For a parent who is in this space right now and has just accepted that, okay, this is my lot. So what can the parents start doing in the environment where they find themselves? Take an African, Dr. Mala, come back home. Take that you are in a typical developing country, kind of thing. Dr. Mala is joining us from Australia. So what the parent there would do is different. So think about it. So what
Mm,
should the parents begin to do right here?
okay.
Since, as you said, you can't wait sometimes for the 2 years or whatever time where you get to know more, let's say, and all of that. What do we do immediately?
Okay. Interestingly, I have a lot of clients that are back home in Nigeria, or even Africa, or even some other Middle East and other things. So I can relate to this environment. So the first, like Mrs. Ode said, get the professional assessment, and that for me that gives direction sometimes. Also, if you're in a place where you can access insurance and things like that and support, most insurance companies or funding, they wouldn't fund without a diagnosis. Of course, as for me, I don't really attach because sometimes diagnosis is not linear and it can be confusing, and you cannot really help a child from the point of diagnosis of symptoms really. So a diagnosis does not equal a particular treatment because every child is different. What can you begin to do? Like I always say, you cannot fight what you don't know. Even if you want to use faith, faith is not all over the place. Faith is targeted. So you have to know what you're dealing with. You have to have like a name or something attached to it. That's where seeking the professional assessment or help comes in. So when you now find out, I would always say there's a level of like Miss Sode say, you need calm because there's a level of hope and strength and faith that you need to walk that journey. It's a journey, it's not a destination. And there will be several bumps on the way. But because your child is relying on you, whether you like it or not, every child, God gave you that child in trust and as a gift. Yes, some of these challenges they just come with the package of the journey of that child. But you have been entrusted to help that child to navigate and still be able to thrive and be their best that God will have them be. So there's a level of faith and hope and strength that you would need to walk that journey. And I would always say you can begin to create the right environment around you. Yes, you need the right professionals, but also you need the right community. And the interesting thing that sometimes the closest people to you may not necessarily be your right community or your right village, because sometimes it may take them time to catch up what's going on. Okay, even professionals, not every professional may be the right professional for your child. A good professional doesn't mean the right professional. A good school doesn't mean the right school. So I always tell parents, one of the first qualities you look out for, even in your professionals or school, are they people that can partner with you? Are they people that they have hope like you do? Not people that when you go for the appointment, yeah, there may be obvious challenges, but I've seen professionals even talk down on the child and say things like this one can never, sometimes some of the ways some professionals talk. To just digress a bit, I remember a story when I had my daughter. Then I had some complications and things like that. So I had to go to go and do some investigations and all that. They didn't know that I was a doctor, but I entered the lab and all that. Just the way, of course, they it looked so bad. So they when they saw it, they were like, "Hey," but they saw my expression that I was so calm. I wasn't even bothered. They were looking at me to hear what they were saying, but I wasn't bothered because I had knowledge. And I imagined someone who didn't have knowledge in that setting. So for me, I would tell any parent, if no matter don't care how good that professional is, if that professional is not speaking life over your child, not speaking something hopeful, run. Because you need it's a community. Your community, your village entails your professionals, the medical professionals, therapists, and all that, the school, and your social community. So, what you can begin to do, first of all, create the right home environment. Home is very important. She was talking about calm, talking about peace. You need peace, calm, love. So there's an internal milieu of your home. I mean, there's a physical and non-physical atmosphere in a home. The physical one are the resources. What are the right resources you're creating? The location of your house. You need to know your child's needs. You hear cases of a lot of children wandering and drowning in the neighborhood. But the first question I ask is, before you started living in that neighborhood as a parent that has a child with those needs, you should have considered those things. Your child can't swim, you are living next to a river. Your child can't swim, you have a pool in your house. So you understand what I'm saying? Your child wanders and has additional needs. You are staying on the third-story building. So, what should you begin to do? Begin to restructure your environment physically to accommodate the needs of your child. Your home should be a functional home environment. There may be things that need to go if they don't support that functionality that your child needs. Then the non-physical things that she was talking about, the calm, the chaos, what words has been spoken in the home environment, words bring life. So everybody staying with you must be people. They don't need to understand what's going on, but there are people that will tell, they are ready to join with you on the journey, even when they don't understand. That's why I said sometimes the closest people to you may not necessarily be your community. So you need to find that community. Sometimes your community can even stand from being online, their online communities. Myself and Coach Mary, I've never met before, but she's part of my village on my parenting journey. You know what I mean? So you need to find people like that. You need to find people that on the days that you're down, you can have a conversation with them and they speak life to you. You need to have people that even when you're just talking passively about your child, you make one negative comment, they redirect you and say no. They may not understand so much, but they are there to speak like. So what you need to begin to do, restructure your home environment to be a functional home environment that supports your child's needs, based depending on the needs that they have. Then the non-physical thing, let it be an atmosphere of love. It will shock you that there are statistics showing that marriages of people who have children with additional needs, there's a high percentage of divorce rates in the special needs community, very high percentage. But you can understand because there's a lot of pressure. Sometimes as well, one spouse is on board, the other spouse is not on board. The other spouse just thinks the child is just being lazy and being spoiled. Or even if they both are on board, the pressure it brings, financial pressure that it brings, sometimes emotional pressure that it brings. So that means you need support. Someone still reached out to me 2 days ago about her friend who needs a psychologist for therapy because she has a child with additional needs. I understand you may need therapy, but remember, don't seek. Yeah, people don't necessarily seek for help first from the people around you if they are not yet on board, because they can discourage you, they can drown your energy. So you need to begin to create that environment for your sanity to begin to walk the road. So as things begin to unveil, as you have more answers, as you have more resources, then you can build from there. But you need a village, your village of professionals, educators, and social circles. So in my beginning, you may need for you to even change your life. You may need to begin to work your environment. Sometimes you may need to change your environment. It doesn't mean it's an overnight decision, but everything to support your child and to enhance them on that journey. Because it's a journey, it's not a destination. But most importantly, the environment that helps you to stay calm, helps you to stay positive, helps you to stay hopeful to begin to walk that journey. So that's what you need to, that's what you start with. That's what I would say you start with.
Or
I'd like to add. I'd
Get
like
an, I
to.
mean, get a community, get a support, and your community not necessarily be the people closest to you. I run for my money here. Okay, can you hear us
Well,
now, Tonya?
yeah, I said I'd like
Can
to add.
can you
I'd
all
like
hear
to.
me? Yes, I was
Yes, we
actually
can
going to
hear.
come. I was actually going to come to you.
Okay, so I was going to add to what she said. Um, I'd like to just reiterate that most of the successful plans and systems for challenged children have been those where the parents, guardians, or caregivers have been known to make observations which they have integrated into the therapy goals or therapy plans. So, what do I mean by that? Back to the primary contact person, meaning the parent or the guardian. You have to step up. It's not easy, but we believe that you are capable of doing that. You will need to step up and be observant, highly observant, and take observations and notes, which you will eventually share with your professionals or the therapist or whoever will be giving the professional support to you. And it's by doing that that they will get an in-depth, because they're the one that lives with the child, they will get an in-depth to what the child really needs. Because at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is achieve here is, what is that child's need that can be built on to help that child support and thrive in society. So that's what I'll say about that. So, of course, we add the calm, the love, the peace, even the peace at home. So everyone has to work together. Like she already said, your immediate community might not be, but they have to be they have to become aware. They have to take that step and become aware and make this. And then, of course, about the physical environment, that matters a lot. That's even my specialty. So that's where I even come in. So creating an environment that is safe, is functional, and is calming and creates peace, happiness, and calm for the child. So you see us trying to create emotive designs where a child comes in and the place is sensorily, the place uplifts them in through their senses. So when we say sensory stimulating environment, so that's actually what every parent should be or guardian should actually be gunning for, a place that is safe and a place that is calming and functional for that child. And like she said, every child is different, every child's needs are different. So
I love
that's
what she said. I love what. Thank you so much for that, Mrs. Ode. What you said about the parents. You know, I tell parents all the time that you are part of your child's management team. You know, in medical we call it MDT, multidisciplinary team. So those are the team of professionals working together. I mean, speech therapist, pediatrician. Even in school, you know, everybody. So the parent is part of the team. In fact, to me, the parent is the most important person in the team. You are the pilots. I tell my parents, you are the pilots. Every other person, they are co-pilots with you. They are partnering with you on that journey because the parent makes the decisions. You make the decision of the school. You pick the professionals. If they give you a speech therapist, you decide that. If they refer you to a place, you decide whether your child goes there or not. So if you are not informed, how do you know the right place for your child? How can you partner effectively? So that why for me, I don't work with children directly. I work with parents because I believe that an
yeah.
informed and empowered parent becomes a parenting advantage that would help their children to navigate and thrive. If we will check all the studies of children who are thriving even as adults, one thing I found common with all of them was that they had a parent or a caregiver that stood as a pilot, that gained knowledge and helped them to navigate. Because you know your child the most, the child spend most hours with you as a parent. We say caregiver. Caregiver means the primary care person, most times the parent. In few cases, grandparents or relatives if the parents are not available. But the caregiver, the child spends a lot of time with you. So you are like the most important person. So when you're taking your child to school, the way we always say, go and introduce your child to the school. When you take your child to a therapist, you introduce your child to the therapist. And everything done in the therapy room does not stay in the therapy room because you don't learn skills in isolation.
Yeah.
You are learning it for everyday life. So if a parent, I always say also, parent training is part of therapy. Any therapy that does not involve the parent is an ineffective therapy because you cannot help a child and do therapy for 1 hour in the room and not be able to transfer those skills so that the child can generalize. And how would a child gain mastery if they don't practice or generalize? And the only way they can do that is the parent is informed and trained, the parent is knowledgeable, the parents can help them to transfer those skills to everyday life. So a parent is very important. I have clients who, after consultation, they realize that the child was in the wrong school. The parent changes the school, and that was the game changer for the child. So as a parent, you are like to me, you are the core, like you bring everyone together. So that's why she said you need to step up. You need to be able to go for IEP meetings. But how do you step up and partner effectively without knowledge? So when you go for an IEP meeting, you need to know what you're looking for. They don't just draw an IEP and hand it over to you. You don't just put your child in therapy and I say, okay, what are they doing in therapy? You say you don't know. What are the goals? You don't know. You ideally, when it comes to even therapy or IEP, the parent sets the goal. That's the ideal thing. But most times I realize parents don't even know. Before you develop an IEP, you ask the parent, what are your goals for your child? What would you like the child to achieve this term or this session? That's what informs that's what even starts the conversation of the IEP. Yes, you may now make some mistakes. They may now guide you with a professional help and say, no, that goal is too high. We have to do this first and that way. But the parent is very important on this journey. But not just that you are present as a parent, you need to be informed, you need to have knowledge, and you have to be able to step up and partner effectively.
Oh, wow, thank you so much. So I mean it's true even for children who don't need as much support as the children we're focusing on right now. It is simple. The parent is the pilot. There's no other way to say it, even for children who don't need this much support. Because whatever the child, I mean anyone is doing with your child, as you said, that's going to be just 1 hour therapy or a few hours therapy. It still boils down to what is generalized when the child comes home. And so, if you are not involved, the truth is, we have seen over and over again that children who have involved parents always succeed, better, or they always do better than children who have parents who are not involved. Whether it's a child with extra need or is a child that doesn't need all of that, I mean, the extra need. Thank you so
So
much,
before we
Dr.
go,
Manuela.
I wanted to add something. One of the
Okay.
changes you may need to make, parents don't like to hear this, even whether your child has additional needs or not. I always say that every child is special, and at every phase in life, you may have needs that are special. If a child is on drugs, for example, one season of life is special, needs special attention. So another change you need to make is some of us, we need to begin to restructure our lives. Because I've seen parents who will say, I'm so busy. This concept of I can be a parent and I still have my life. It's a very wrong concept. When you become a parent, everything changes. You can't hold on to when I was young, I always dreamt of being an astronaut. So no child can take away that dream. Sorry, dear parent. Once you become a parent, and I always say that the sacrifices you will make on your parenting journey, you may not be able to determine it. The challenges your children would have, the needs they will have, may inform the level of sacrifice you may need to make. So some of us may need to change, you may need to change your job if it will not accommodate. These are difficult conversations. If you have money, you can't just say, I'm going to pay a caregiver, I'm going to get the best schools and put the child, because studies have shown, even when we're talking about emotional development and social skills development, studies have shown, I think there was a study by Harvard or so, that the parent or the primary caregiver is one of the greatest factors for a child developing emotional stability. So
Mhm.
you may need to structure your life, your schedule. I'm a busy businesswoman. I travel from Dubai today, China tomorrow. Some of those things may need to go or may need to change what it looks like, because
Moved for
parenting
the
is a
moved further.
call. Parenting is a call to change. So that's one big change. You can't be doing 9 to 5 and not be present. You can't just be sending somebody to go for therapy session. You're not going, you're not involved. So the work you do, your schedule and all those things, you may need to consider it. Is it gonna work with what your child is currently facing? So you may need to begin to structure, maybe not overnight, but you may need to begin to change how you work, how you do things, and so that you can be more present and involved. Thank you
All
for
right,
that.
thank you so much. We have been on this particular area. I can see that this one is really very important. All right, Tonya, I was going to ask you. I know. So you should go to Tonia's space. When she's talking about calm and all of that, you should go to Tonia's house. You would just immediately you get through her door. You even just look at the ambience behind her. You will see the moment you get in. There's a calm, right? Because she is supporting the child, and you will see that calm. You will see, in fact, sometimes you can be around and you will not even know that she's supporting the child, and all that, because she has put together her space. She has gotten into this whole system that she has become, as far as I'm concerned, she has become, she's a queen of understanding space when it comes to working with children like this. So, Tonya, there are parents who are in that space. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to fix this space. Is there something tangible that you're putting together, or we can put? That is out there that can help parents create space. There's an average Nigerian parent in Lagos, in Abuja, in wherever, that needs some consultation and all of that as per their space. Do we come to you? Are you in that space? Please share with us if you are in that space so that we can begin. See, Dr. Wala works with a lot. In fact, Dr. Wala has even sent people to come and work with me, from the people that she works with. So she already works with these parents. She has clients like this, so that we can begin to think of how to create that ambience, create that space, since the space is so important for what you guys are saying. Both the physical space and the emotional space, both are important. Then it means that there's a need to help more parents begin to know what kind of space. I do space. Mr. Lu and I, we work with parents to create stimulating environment for their children to play, but we're not talking. We don't get into these intricacies for for children with extra needs. So it means we can all collaborate. That's what it means, basically. But then again, let's talk about space for these special children that we're talking about. Yes, Tonya, quickly, 1 minute, so that we can jump to the next aspect and we can round up in the next, say, 10 minutes. Yes, please, ma'am.
Yeah, so there's the possibility of achieving that basically through inclusive and emotive design. So what that just means is design a functional and safe design and calming, a functional, safe and sensory design that helps to elevate the lifestyle of the person involved, irrespective of ability. The truth is, all designs, all interior spaces should actually be inclusive. So it doesn't matter, because someone can be fine this moment, like Dr. Mola said, and then the next minute there's a stroke, there's an accident, some kind of deformity that just happens and leads you to some form of disability. So that space can be modified to suit the child. So basically, it's still some form of consultation to find out the exact need that that child has, and then you tailor the space to fit, to accommodate. What you're just doing is including the challenge into the pre-existing space to suit the person involved and others. So that's basically what inclusive design is. Emotive design is more towards the sensory, how the person feels and how the person the emotions the person gets. Is it calming for the child? So you don't want a place that is overstimulating for that child. So hence some people don't like textures, they don't like colors. So you have to consider all those elements in design that we inculcate in designing such spaces. Well, actually, I'm advocating for the incorporation and the inclusion of sensory centers in most schools just to help children with special needs. We don't want this segregation anymore. We have seen that a lot of children with additional needs are hyper talented. A lot of them they can strive, they can do so well if given the attention that they need. At the end of the day, we just want these children to thrive and not be segregated or be labeled or discriminated against. We want them to live a safe, a functional, and healthy life. So that's it. So if you do need, please come to me.
All right then. So in all of this, I know, but maybe because I am close enough to Tonia, I know that there are financial implications to this when parents are, dealing with all of this. So Dr. Mola, let me ask you, as someone who deals with parents, a lot of parents in this space. So what are the biggest financial and let's add emotional challenges that parents face in raising this group of children? And are there ways that we can improvise? I mean, we're talking, I like you, as I said, always bring it home. There is that parent that is still trying to pay school fees for the other three children, there is food to eat and all of that. And I know that there are all kinds of things that these children need. What are the challenges, first of all? And yes, if you're a parent who is already in that space with those challenges, what are the things we can do? I will come back to you, Tonia, to give us specifics as someone who deals with this every day. How can we I don't know. Let's start.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So the truth is that yes, parents face a lot of challenges. It can be financially overwhelming for them. And of course, also when you're talking about the kind of environment, not all environments are readily fund these things. So of course, maybe in diaspora, you say the government schools will have resources, but I will shock you that even in diaspora, that we think that they have as much financial this thing support. What people don't realize that most of the time, the government does not fund what really works. So most of the resources they say are in those schools, sometimes they are not the right resources. It's just a facade. So until you are in it, working with people and professionals, doing the right thing, you won't see through what I'm saying. You hear, oh, the schools are so equipped. But what I've found, we're talking about parents. Even in diaspora, if you are not an involved parent, trust me, what you think
Sonia
your
was
child is
saying
getting
this.
resources is not the right resources. And the schools like it when you are not informed. Professionals like it, so they will just bamboozle you. They'll just be
Yeah.
writing reports and everything. So in diaspora, to shock you, they are not as much right resources. I'm not talking about they're not resources. There's a difference between resources and the right resources. I will shock you. I have clients in Canada, in US, in UK, in UAE, everywhere. It's the same story. 1 hour of therapy a week, 45 minutes of therapy in 2 weeks. That's more, I'm telling you. So when people in that are telling me, oh, there's so much support in the schools, I'm smiling. It's what you think. Oh, the government have funded $2 million to the schools. It's just sad. You do 1 hour of therapy a week. 1 hour of therapy a day, ideally, is not even enough. So I'm still coming to how do we close the gap. So that's why you have to be involved. So it can be a lot. So it's not just about therapy, it's about the right therapy. So that's why I emphasize the place of parents. So that's why, first of all, if your child has a challenge, I would encourage seek assessment, because most times, if you even want to get insurance, NGOs to support you, they would need a diagnosis. So whether or not you agree with the diagnosis or not, it does help, because most companies, without a diagnosis, even if there's an obvious challenge, they won't. I don't know why they do that. It shouldn't be, but that's what it is. Then another thing you can do, that's where the parent comes in. So I tell my clients, okay, and there's also a lot of bureaucracy. I don't want to get into that. Even the diaspora everywhere, Australia, Canada, US, it's the same thing. The insurance companies would hardly fund enough therapy. I don't blame them sometimes. There's a lot of burden on the system, burden on the government. We don't even have enough professionals to cover the children. So we have children on waiting for 2 years or things like that. So we come to how do we close the gap? So because there is hardly any way the government will give, even in foreign countries, will give you enough, or the insurance companies will give you enough to fund the therapy. So how do you close the gap? That's why you must get informed and get trained. So I tell my clients, if they give your child 1 hour of therapy per week and that's all they can get, part of your therapy session should involve parent training. So when you are trained, you are able to maximize hours at home to translate those skills, because the concept of therapy is not the concept of treatment. They're different. Treatment is you use medication, it stays in your body and it's working. Therapy is a concept of training and practice. So it's not that when you do therapy this week, the therapy is staying in the child's body till next week till you come and do therapy again. So that's why if you as a parent, you get involved and learn some of those things, maybe some of the resources they use in the therapy room, you might be able. So that's why, but it also requires wisdom. So you have to know how to partner with your professional, because some parents will come in and they want to like take over and they don't know how to talk. They don't know. So sometimes you hear parents that the therapists are hiding things. And I'm like, you need wisdom to know how to partner effectively with them. So sometimes if you can do that, some of them will share some of the tools and resources they use. You can buy them. So during the therapy session, you can invest some of those hours to get trained. Also, there are resources online, get knowledge, so that when you are with the child, because remember, therapy is you're training the child for everyday life, everyday interaction. So, how do you interact with the child on a daily basis at home to maximize that, to practice those things? So, those are some of the ways you can help to close the gap. Knowing there is no country that insurance companies, whether it's America or UK or Australia, will give you enough funding.
Yeah.
Parents that are saying they're giving enough fund, they don't know what enough hours are. That's why a parent will tell you the child is getting adequate. There is no way they will give you 40 hours of 40 hours. You go to the court and things like that before you can get 40 hours of therapy a week. And just few people will get that. So the way you can close the gap is to step up, like Mrs. Ode said. Step up, know how to partner effectively with them, know how to translate some of the learnings in the therapy room to everyday life at home. Other things that you can begin to do as well. Yes, there are some maybe NGOs, depending on where you stay, but they're very difficult. The parents reached out to me 2 days ago. Do I know any NGO or foundation that is giving funding? I think she's in another part of Nigeria and all that. So even in diaspora, it's very, very difficult to get some of those things. But the best way to close the gap is for you to step up, get involved, know how you can partner with the therapist, how you can get some of those resources. Then we talked about community. So when you're in community with other parents, parents will share resources, share information, share hacks, share places they can get some resources. Sometimes parents even exchange resources. So for example, maybe their children have outgrown some of those things and they are not using them again. They can sell them to you, or sometimes someone they can even gift you, or just say, okay, pay for postage. Although I don't know how well those communities are in Nigeria, but I know that there are communities like that. There are places like that where people can give things, exchange things, share ideas. And the world is a global village now. There's a lot of information out there as well. That's how you can close the gap. Other things you can begin to do, for example, if you have to change how you work, is these days you can work from home. So people are talking about stepping up. If it means going a different career path that allows you to work remotely, that allows you to work from home, that can become maybe a side hustle or other streams of income or to make money, you can begin to consider it. I've seen parents who have changed how they work. They now maybe acquired a tech skill. They work from home so they can be more flexible with their time, with their schedule, and they can accommodate help them to have more time to attend their child's therapy, have more time with the child at home, or things like that. So those are some of the ways that I always encourage parents, because whether you like it or not, the honest is it's very, very expensive. So partner with your therapist, gain skills, acquire some of the resources that you can replicate at home. Also, join communities. When you're in communities, be active. Be active. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Then, like I said, step up, get knowledge, read. There are some things that, for example, we talk about nutrition and things like that, changing diet and all those things. You can get some of those information, and you can talk to professionals as well and talk to people. So when you get knowledge, you'll be able to see one or two things, and you can maximize the little therapy hours that you need. I would always say part of your therapy hours, let parent training be part of it. Then learn how to partner very well. If you partner well with the school, you partner well with your professionals, they'll become your advocate. They will share information with you. If they even find funding, they will tell you, things like that. So you need that wisdom to be able to partner effectively. So those are some of the strategies. And if you need to, get additional skills to change how you work that will enable you to work from home, learn a new skill, I mean, you can and evolve. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We're about to round up, and I'm going to ask you just two questions each of you before we go. All right, this has been such an informative, the JJness in this session, right? As is, they're just talking JJJ, and I'm sure any parent here, who has a child, that has needs, you would have a lot in this session. Even for me, with a child with children who do not have this, special needs, I have already picked a lot, because these things they're actually the same things we can apply, right? And just as they've said, every child is on some sort of, every child has some sort of a need at every point. So that's the truth about it. And in those times, we try all of this, because of course we can't even overemphasize our positions as parents and what we can do with that position in the life of our children. So quickly, let's round up by me asking, Dr. Mala, let me start with you. Now, what are the common signs that you begin to see in your child, right? As a parent who's walked this journey for some time and you're trying to do the needful, what are the common signs you begin to see in the child that will let you know that this child is thriving? Okay, what would you see that as a parent you can say, something, okay, child is thriving, we are making headway, we are getting somewhere. All right, please, ma'am.
Okay, first of all, I want to say that I need parents to set your expectations right. Set realistic expectations. But remember, we're talking about the milestones from the beginning. That's why if you know the milestones, how the child will progress, even though we said yes, it's not necessarily linear, but most times we use that not a yardstick, but like an anchor form of measurement. So before you start any intervention or any therapy or anything, there's always an assessment. Okay, so that assessment, even when interventions come in, interventions are not just interventions. It's not like they just say they're doing speech therapy. No, they are goals per time. Sometimes they even do goals in maybe every 3 months or maybe every term or every semester. So that's why as a parent, you need to be involved. Ideally, any IEP or any therapist, before they set goals, they will ask the parent. They should ask the parent that the ideal thing. What are your goals for your child? What would you like your child to achieve, maybe even this term or this semester? So they will write it down. These are the things we want to try to achieve this semester or maybe in the next 1 month or 3 months. These are the ways we are going to achieve them. So by the end of the term or 3 months, we now check and measure. So if we are saying that, okay, we want this child, let's even use maybe academics or social, we want the child to be interacting more. We want to increase attention span maybe from 1 minute to 3 minutes. It could be as simple as that, because we want to build learning to learn skills or things like that. So at the end of 3 months or at the end of the term or the term, they'll now pick it one after the other. So that's why whatever goals they are setting for your child, it must be very clear. So when I ask you as a parent, what are they? Your child is in speech therapy. What are the goals? You shouldn't tell me you don't know. You have to know. So that's why you have to be involved. So let's even assume that even you at home, you can set goals. So how do you measure progress? You can only measure progress if you have the goals outlined, if you know where the child is. We know where the child is and we know where we want to get the child to, but we don't jump 10 steps. No, we break it down step by step. So if your child, for example, cannot brush their teeth, my goal in the next 6 months is that I want my child to learn how to brush their teeth, right? The first thing might even be that they even have the small muscles of the hand and hands, so they may have problem with the muscles. So let's assume that in the therapist, in the assessment, they discover that their hand muscles are very weak to brush, to write. Your therapist might say, okay, we're going to work on building the muscles of the hand. So we're working on maybe using Play-Doh, using paper and all those things. By the end of 3 months, the child may not even be able to brush it, but they can hold, they have a good grip. It's progress. Because you know where you want to get to. They can hold the grip, that's progress. They can follow that instruction where they can get to the bathroom and know the toothbrush, know the toothpaste, know how to even put toothpaste on the brush. That is progress. So how do we know we are making progress? We must understand where the child is, what are the challenges, what are the limitations impeding them from gaining the higher skill. Okay, and now we have now put strategies in place, because the concept when there's developmental delays that we want to build skills that will help them to be able to graduate and be able to achieve what is expected on the next milestone. So let the expectations be right. Let where they are be very clear, where we want to get them to be very clear, and the strategies we are putting in place to get them to the other side. Okay, so how do we now measure progress? We'll check where we are coming from and where we are. And in case let's even assume there's no progress, then we can check what did we put in place? Did we implement it correctly? If we implemented it correctly, could there be anything we are missing that is impeding these things from working? Or sometimes do we even need more frequency, more intensity, more duration to achieve it? So you can only measure progress if you can outline where they are, and we now think about where we need to get them to. Then we now set goals per time. So that's why most of the time there are long-term goals and there are short-term goals. So you can have goal for the year for school academic, now have goal for every term. Even for every term, they can have goals for every month. So they can now check, this was where we were, this is where we are. Therefore, ability at home, like I was saying, therapy is not in isolation. So whatever they are learning in therapy, is it translating to home? We say we're building social skills, focus and concentration. Oh, the child is so focused in school. Is she focused at home? Is she focused when you go to church or go other places? So you can also measure by functionality or generalization. So you can know whether they are gaining mastery of those skills. If they are not gaining mastery, then we need to check. Are we just learning in isolation? Are we transferring here? Or are we doing enough? Sometimes intensity may need to increase, frequency may need to increase, duration may need to increase, and sometimes we need more patience. So if we check we're doing all the right things correctly, sometimes it might just be a case of we need more patience to get them to where they want to be.
All righty. Thank you so much. That was so instructive. All right, Miss Tonia. Now, final question would be, now because the theme of this conference is building a solid foundation for your child's future, and I know that for the average parents, who's dealing with a child with special needs, there are always those questions, always those fears about the child's future and all of that. I don't know. I want to believe very strongly, even for parents who don't have special needs, there's always the there's always the okay, what will happen to them and all of that. Now, how can we as parents who have special needs children, how do we begin to map out a future for them, and how do we follow through? What are the things we can begin to put in place right now to ensure that there's a roadmap and we can follow that roadmap to help these children live more wholesome lives, basically.
Okay. I would like to reiterate that this can't just be done in isolation, and it's back to you need to step up. You need, as a parent with a child that has additional needs, you have to be highly observant. You have to, well, in some cases, so because it varies, and it's it's a broad spectrum when it comes to additional needs. Some children, it's easier to identify their strengths and know how to go along with them, while others, it's more difficult. So when I say more difficult, it takes probably a longer time to achieve this. I would say that one of the ways to do that is first by identifying the child's strength and seeing if you can use that positively to build um, um, to build, I don't want to call it a profession, but to build a pathway for that child. Oh, okay, so that's maybe what the child can begin to do eventually. Okay, I have this child who has these needs, but his strengths are in maybe he can paint, he can draw, he can do this, he can do that. So you can work on building those strengths for the child. However, you can also not take away everyday living. How to, so what you want to also ensure is that you teach.
Oh wow. Okay, seems like Tonya is having network issues. So we'll just wait for her to come back. Dr. Mola, you want to throw a bit of light there as you
Yes,
when we talk about in the
yeah,
future.
I'm sure she was getting there. I know she was trying to say maybe you teach life skills. So how do you map a future for a challenged child? I think we already talked about we're talking about the future. So I feel that if for children that maybe are not challenged, if we're thinking about the future, then think about what are the skills that my child will need to function in life. So that will help to set your
Mm,
priorities. That will help to reduce certain pressure, especially this pressure of maths and English. This maths and English pressure
mm,
would reduce, and you will realize that the fact that my child may have challenges with maths or learning or even writing, but they can function socially, they can be
mm,
independent, they can cook, they can shower themselves, they can learn, they can do things with their hands. Because even you and I think about it, most of the skills we need to function in life, they have nothing to do with the academics that we learned. They don't. And some of them, even children that have additional needs, can learn them. It may just take them a while to learn. So think about the future. Think about yourself as an adult. What are the skills that I need to function as an adult? So the way
mm,
you can map out the future for them is, I think that we call them activities of daily living, daily life skills. I think you should place a lot of priority on it. But parents place a lot of priority on academics or education, or learning more than that. It should be the other way around. Okay. And another thing you can do is that she was talking about your child's interest or things like that. I have parents who their children have additional needs, language challenge, and I ask them, okay, have you tried teaching them how to cook? And they just assume that the child has language challenge, the child cannot cook. I said, why? Who says the child cannot cook? You don't need to be
mm.
able to speak to be able to cook. Do you? No, you don't. So focus on the skills they will need to function as an adult, starting with daily things, chores, independent skills. They can dress themselves, they can bath themselves, they can begin to cook. Of course, you would teach safety. The way you would teach them may be different. It may take more time. And that's why I talked about partnering with your professionals. People like occupational therapists, that's what some of the things they do. So focus on life skills, feel that they will need to function independently as an adult. Some of them, yes, maybe not all of them, be able to live independently alone, but focus on life skill. Leave maths and English for a bit. Multiplication times table, leave it for a bit. Focus on ability to, dress themselves, cook, function. Then I always say expose them to different opportunities. Sometimes parents restrict their children. Oh, the child cannot do this. Can the child play chess? You say the child cannot play chess. How do you know? You have never tried them. Painting, artwork, music. So expose them to different interests. And you can now use some of those interests to begin to build on the weaknesses. So you can use cooking to teach maths to them. Some of them even language skills. By the time they learn how to cook, they learn how to draw. If they find what they like, it serves as a motivation sometimes to even be able to overcome some of the limitations. So a child has language challenges. They find what they like. They love to paint. To talk about what you like is easier than just talking about something that you don't like. Miss Ode is here. Let her continue. Welcome back.
All right, so we
Sorry,
just
my
okay.
sincere apologies. I don't know, my network just threw me out. Okay,
Yeah.
so
So you just
I,
just
I
just round up, yes, ma'am.
okay, so I was just talking about, because it's not everything, like she said, that just therapy straight away. You want to teach them. So what the occupational therapist comes in to do is teach them how to live daily, like day-to-day activities, how to live alone, be able to function alone, life skills. So as a parent, you can't teach them. I think sometimes as parents, we limit our powers when it comes to children with additional needs. You just feel there's that fear. Oh, I can't do this, it's too much for me. Oh, I have to go to the specialist, I have to use the... No, you have the capability and you can do it. I'm here to say that you can do it. You just need to stay calm, put in the right effort, do your own research, and see how best you live with the child. So that alone gives you an added advantage to know how to work with the child. So teach them. It's not... Sometimes we are so results driven
Oriented.
and result oriented that we forget the journey. So the journey might look long, it might look slow, but you are making progress day to day. Like she said, that example, okay, the child can't brush well, but is able to breathe. That in itself is a skill. That's one of the fine motor skills, gripping. When you want to even teach children how to write, you have to even ensure that the child is gripping rightly. So it might look like it's a long journey, but just keep at it. Teach, find out. A lot of the children have, some of them are visual learners. So you have to use some visual cues to teach them how to do stuff. So if they already enjoy painting, like she said, use it to teach them how to do other things. So we also have to understand building blocks in teaching life skills. So it's one step upon the other. So if you are using this, you just build upon it. Oh, my child likes this. Oh, I can use that. We do this for even typical neurotypical children, talk more of diverse children. So it's the same method. You are just probably doing it at maybe a more intentional and slower pace, maybe, but you are taking your time to show them the way. But basically, it's almost the same thing. You are just building on more or elaborating the techniques that you are using. So if the child likes this, just build up on it and keep at it, showing the child how to do. So identifying the child's interest, teaching them life skills. And once you can teach them life skills, one of the skills taught to a lot of children with additional needs is even swimming, for their safety. So sometimes these things that we teach them is even for their safety. You want to ensure that, when they are in danger zones, they are able to recognize danger zones, they are able to navigate around challenging zones. So it still boils down to, if you are not ready, if you're not involved, it was going to be a difficult journey for you. So you have no choice but to be involved, to step up and be informed and do that which is right, to be the best support you can to your special one.
All righty. So we have even given this session special time because of how important it is. We've been here for 1 hour, 30 minutes. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Malola. Thank you so much, Tonia. I think you've exhausted. We have turned this, topic and this subject, over and over, and I'm sure a lot of parents here have gotten something from it. Dr. Mala runs a community and she has a conference that is coming up in the next 2 days. I know a lot of you will be catching replay. When you catch the replay, if you want to know more, please join. We will share the link to Dr. Mola's conference in the group, in the conference group, so that you can reach her. Dr. Mola, please also send us your handle. Tonia, send us your handle so that we can share in the group so parents who want to follow you. Tonia is building spaces and helping parents build spaces. See, dear parents, if you have a child, and don't sit down here and say to yourself, oh, my own no be like that, my own no reach like that. These are the challenges that we have, right? Some of us are even following these people because we have come to recognize that we are all on some sort of a spectrum. Even you as a person, we're all on some sort of a spectrum, and it's only knowledge that will save you. So let's follow, get the knowledge, know how to support these children, put everything into supporting our children. Put everything, parents, into supporting them at least for this first 18, 20 years. Okay, and then you become a matriarch and you can be doing it at a sophisticated level later. But right now, let's put everything in there. Sometimes it is while you are putting in the energy that you begin to see gaps that you didn't even know existed. But if you don't put in the work, you will miss a lot of things that are actually challenges that the children have that you didn't even know. All right. So thank you so much. I won't even be taking a last word from these women because they've given us everything. All
No,
right. So we will just
I need to give a last
we
word.
have our last.
We need to give a last
They've been
word.
bullying me since the beginning of this session. You see,
I'm so
one
sorry.
question, one person has something.
I'm so sorry.
It just
I
shows
just
that
want
this topic, this subject, I know, you will. It just shows that there's just a lot when it comes to this group of children. So take your last word, two of you. Take your last word, Tonia, and then Dr.
So-
Mola will give us her last word. All right, then.
Okay, so it's not really a last word, Sha, but it's just pointers. So with everyone listening,
Yeah.
I just want to say, number one, stay calm. Number two, get knowledge and be informed. Number three, get up and step up. You can do it. Restructure to accommodate support for the child. It's very important. Restructure to accommodate support for the child. Be involved to understand the right support that your child needs so that you can identify that you've not gone the long haul and is 10 steps back instead of moving forward. So ensure that you understand the right support that your child needs, whether it's physical, emotional, whatever support it is. Then even for you, the parents, be open to support. Don't just dwell in I can do it alone. I'm a super mommy, I'm a super daddy. Get people to support you. Let them know what it involves, the journey you're on. Help them to understand, because when people understand and get to understand what is happening with children that have additional needs, there becomes more empathy and support for these children. You unknowingly build a supportive community for them and a thriving environment for them. Then please don't be ashamed or scared. You can do it. You have the strength, you have the power. Don't be scared and don't be ashamed. You are a winner, and so is your precious one. Please be strong and know that with all with you all with all the inputs you put in, it's possible for you to achieve great success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma. Dr. Oh, let's hear from you.
Okay, what I want to say is that so they say, step up, get involved, and become informed, because an informed and empowered parent becomes the parenting advantage that will help
Yeah.
a child navigate challenges and to thrive. And always remember, if your child is not learning the way you teach the way the child learns. So when the child has challenges, sometimes it's about you now teaching the way the child learns. The child becomes your teacher. So be
Yeah.
open to learning. Don't be rigid. This is how they do it, and don't compare your child. Every child have their own unique journey, their own unique process. So embrace the journey, embrace the process, because sometimes you will look back and realize that instead of you living and enjoying the journey, you spend all the time worrying, because your child's journey is part of your journey to becoming as well. It's part of your becoming process and making process. So take the journey one step at a time, but enjoy the process, embrace it, because your child will be growing every day. And you don't want to look back and know that you did not. So parent the child that you have, not the one that you wish you have. Some parents are still grieving over the child that they wish they had. Grieving is not, sorry, just to say that grieving is not only, mourning is different from grieving. Mourning is when someone died, but you can even grieve somebody that is still alive. So some parents are grieving. They have a child with them, but they are grieving because they feel like they lost the child that they wish they had. So parent the child that you have. Embrace the process. Embrace the journey. Your child is counting on you. Even God is counting on you to be able to shepherd that destiny. Help them to navigate. I always say developmental challenges is just the baggage that comes with that journey. It's a season. You may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning. So have that hope,
Morning.
have that faith. Your child is counting on you to believe, to hope, and to give it all it takes. And you can do it. With God on your side, nobody can say what the child cannot or cannot do. So, keep hope alive and stay true to the journey. Thank you.
Preach it, Doc. Preach it. Okay, at this juncture, we have to really go. Thank you so much, these two amazing women. Thank you for sharing from your heart with us. I'm sure the parents here have a lot to go with, and we will come back and catch this replay over and over again. In fact, when I start seeing all this kind, I'll come and watch a part of this every now and then. Thank you again. We have to go. All right, for all our audience, we have our last session. It's going to be a very short 30-minute session for me to cap all of this. All right. It starts at 8 p.m. So come back here in 12 minutes. Let's round up and give ourselves big hugs. Thank you so much, everyone. I love you,
Thank
both of you.
you.
I celebrate you and I honor
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you again.
Thank
Bye for
Thank you,
now.
Andy.
Admin,
Thank
thank you
you.
very
Bye.
much for not being on your seat. Thank you again. Bye.
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 All right, bye. I'll just have to end this session because my admin is not on seat.